Alternatives. It's a new wave, guys. Alternative meat, alternative fuel, alternative fashion, alternative rock, alternative genders, alternative drugs, alternative school, alternative medicine, and alternatives to Axie Infinity, because it's way too fucking expensive. And so that's what we're talking about in today's video. Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another video. I am your host Seth, and in today's video, we're actually going to be talking about Axie Infinity. Now, if you caught our last NFT video, one of the things that we've kind of been interested in here in the office is the space of NFT gaming, just because it's kind of a new frontier in the gaming space. I mean, we're kind of interested to see how it's going to change the landscape of gaming as we know it. The economies around gaming, the way that games are monetized, the way that players interact with games. It's kind of, like I said, I feel like a very transformative technology that's going to be taking over gaming in the near future, and so we wanted to start talking about it. But with that being said, when you get into NFT gaming, when you look it up, there's one title that comes up over and over and over, and that is Axie Infinity. Now, Axie Infinity was developed by G-Mineo out of Vietnam, I believe, in 2018, and actually had some pretty significant heavyweight investors behind it. And for the first couple of years, everything was great, but it absolutely exploded in popularity over the last year. And with that explosion in popularity comes some issues, namely the cost of getting into the game. You see, back when Axie Infinity started, it was like $10 or $15 to get into the game, and now you gotta spend upwards of like $600 to sort of get into the game, which leads to a whole host of problems. Obviously, you know, new players are obviously very, shall we say, hesitant to invest $600 in a game they don't know nothing about and can't really take part in until they made that investment. And of course, that again brings up these other issues like scholarship programs, which are kind of sketchy and basically have more affluent players or players who have been in the space for a long time sponsoring new players, which again, that can lead to some scams and a whole bunch of other things. You have to give a percentage of your earnings to your scholarship provider. I don't know, it's weird. It's a little weird. And with those challenges, like all of the potential scamming, obviously the enormous cost to get in, it has a lot of people who still are interested in NFT gaming looking for alternatives. And so that is what I wanted to talk about in today's video. And this is my list of the top 3 alternatives that are either coming very soon or that are currently out that you can play in lieu of Axie Infinity. But before we go ahead and dive into the alternatives to Axie Infinity, I just wanted to say, you know, make sure you subscribe. If you enjoy this kind of content, make sure you like the video if you enjoy the content. And if you want to see more NFT gaming, I would love to hear about topics or concerns or questions that you guys have down in the comments below. Let us know. We would love to cover there's a lot of different videos that are coming out over the next couple of weeks in regards to NFT gaming, but if there's any topics that you guys want to see us cover, make sure to drop it down in the comments. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into number 1 on my list of top 3 games as alternatives to Axie Infinity, the first being Hero Metaverse. Now, Hero Metaverse is actually a secondary game developed by G-Mineo, and it is not actually coming out until later this month. The cool thing about Hero Metaverse is it seems like the developers, from what I was able to gather with the white paper and all the sort of literature and things like that that are out there, is that the developers over at G-Mineo have basically solved a lot of the issues that people have with Axie Infinity and placed those solutions to those issues into the new Hero Metaverse game. First and foremost, I'm kind of grading these all on a few key criteria, namely the cost to enter and key or major differences or similarities between whatever game I'm recommending and Axie Infinity. So the biggest thing is that the cost to enter Hero Metaverse is projected to be between $10 and $15 to start. Now that's much more palatable for most gamers. I mean, $10 to $15 is no big thing, especially when you can pay upwards of $40, $50, or even $60 for some really cool AAA titles. And as far as key major differences or similarities, there are 2 major differences between Hero Metaverse and Axie Infinity that, from what I can tell so far. The first is that Hero Metaverse will run on the Binance Smart Chain blockchain. Now, originally Axie Infinity was running on the Ethereum blockchain, but then they did some weird stuff where they brought it over to a Ronin sidechain, and it kind of upset a lot of the community because the whole point of blockchain gaming is sort of the transparency of, you know, the data and where it rests and everything. And it got a little dicey with like the Ronin sidechain. It became a little less transparent and it was more centralized as opposed to decentralized, which is kind of the whole point of blockchain anything. So this new game has been placed on Binance Smart Chain, which is a public blockchain that is very transparent. And the major difference between Ethereum blockchain, which is where Axie Infinity was originally housed, and Binance Smart Chain, where Hero Metaverse is going to be, is that the Binance Smart Chain is through various mechanisms, basically allows for cheaper and faster transactions to take place on the blockchain, which is great and allows for, again, more transparency in the system. The other big difference is the NFTs themselves. In Hero Metaverse, you're actually going to have these little guys named called YOLOs, which are actually kind of cool, but you have a team of 5 YOLOs that you can collect. And a key component in this one is that in order to summon or basically create new YOLOs, you have to have 3 different YOLOs to summon a new one, as opposed to, the 2 that you needed to breed a new Axie in Axie Infinity. So it's supposed to sort of clamp down a little bit, or help rather, with the rampant inflation problems that existed within Axie. And overall, Hero has much better tactics in place to combat in-game inflation. And in addition to that, they look like they're going to be implementing sort of multi-tiered earning systems so that it doesn't sort of lend itself to the pyramid scheme qualities where you have like these top peak players earning a lot and then everybody at the bottom just fighting for scraps. So they're gonna have different tiers, which will help with sort of differentiating and making sure that players can earn no matter their skill level. So, Hero Metaverse coming out later this month in September. It's supposed to be really, really interesting. I'm definitely going to be investing in some of the coins when they come out, if I can. And so, definitely want to keep your eyes on. And like I said, coming out later this month, sometime in September. Haven't gotten a precise release date yet, but from everything I've gathered, it is coming out this month. Next, number 2 on the list is Monstas Infinite. Now, Monstas Infinite, I'm not gonna lie, looks very much like Axie Infinity. It's like a similar animation style. The NFTs look pretty similar. The NFTs themselves, instead of being called Axies, are called Monstas, and are supposed to exist sort of in a realm before the dinosaurs, and are dealing with this sort of threat called the Jakala or something like that. And basically they summon these Inception Monstas to combat this threat, which are the NFTs that you can achieve and have as a player. Now, the cost to enter into Monstas Infinite is between $30 to $45 to get your first sort of set of Monstas, which you need 3 very similar to Axie Infinity in order to play and get into combat and do the quests and things. Monstas Infinite is also based on the Binance Smart Chain, which again just makes for more transparency, faster and cheaper transactions, which is good for gamers and for the video game developer, kind of better for everybody. Again, one of the key draws of blockchain is the decentralization of things, so that these big entities don't kind of have control over the way that in-game economies or economies in general function. So being on the Binance Smart Chain, great move from the developers. And one of the other things is you can participate in mini games in addition to like PvP and quests in this game to earn Moni, M-O-N-I, which is the sort of in-game coin. So there's what sounds like a few more earning mechanics in this game than there are in Axie Infinity as it exists now. Also, one of the coolest things about this is that there is skill-based matchmaking implemented into Monstas Infinite. One of the problems with some of these games, especially like Axie Infinity, is that the rich players who have just like better Axies, who maybe aren't that skilled necessarily, are able to beat lower income players who are ultimately more skilled. This skill-based matchmaking kind of matches you in brackets and in matches in the PvP arena versus people who are of a similar skill level to you and have similar sort of power levels, to basically make it more of a fair, to give you more fair and fighting chance to earn coin within the game. So Monstas Infinite, great alternative to Axie. Very similar concept, card-based games, very tactical, a lot of fun, but you can check that one out now. And finally, we come to the last sort of alternative to Axie on our list, which is my, I think, personal favorite of all of the 3, Ethermon. Ethermon is actually the oldest game on this list of alternatives. It's actually been around since 2017, but it sort of had, some issues, and they got a relaunch in 2019. And one of the coolest things is that it's been under development, and sort of the developers have constantly been contributing to the world since that time. And essentially, Ethermon is Pokemon, but with NFTs. In fact, like those of you who are fans of Pokemon will definitely recognize like the animation's very similar, the monsters, the mechanics, like you can evolve your monsters through, or your Mons through different processes of evolution and get like power stones and things like that. There's a lot of very similar mechanics to Pokemon. I mean, it's basically Pokemon, but with NFTs. So it's really cool. The NFTs, the cards themselves, the creatures are really fun. And I think my favorite part of this particular game is that there's actual like worlds to play in. It's not just like, I'll show you some sort of gameplay footage, but there's like an actual world to play in, and it looks really cool. It actually really bears a striking resemblance to, like I said, Pokemon. It's kind of nostalgic for someone like me who grew up in that 8-bit earlier Pokemon iterations. But because of the similarities to Pokemon, it involves some really cool mechanics like capturing and evolving your Pokemon, leveling them up through battle, the sort of, again, mechanics that a lot of gamers out there are already used to. And again, my favorite part of this is that there's an actual world to play in, which is super, super cool. The cost to enter Ethermon is $20 to $30. And one of the most promising things about this one in particular is that the developers have continued to work on it and are continuing to add more content. Ethermon looks like it's kind of, they're betting on that horse. They are developing in that world, creating new quests, kind of constantly adding content, which is really, really fun. And I enjoy that quite a bit. So Ethermon, great alternative to Axie Infinity. If you're a fan of Pokemon, this is a fun play to earn game that you might really, really enjoy. So go ahead and check that one out. But that's it, you guys. I mean, I just wanted to very quickly present some alternatives to those of you who are out there who might be interested in getting into NFT gaming but are offset or turned off, I should say, by the enormous cost to enter, one of the more popular games like Axie Infinity. There are a lot of new other games that are coming out, like Illuvium and Guild of Guardians and things like that look really, really promising. But lots of awesome alternatives that are out there. And again, as I mentioned in my earlier video, this I think is indicative of the fact that NFT gaming isn't going anywhere. And it's going to be a really sort of core component and core offering in games as we go into the future. Like I said, guys, be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know if you have any thoughts on these games. Let me know if you enjoyed the video by giving it a thumbs up. Again, it helps us tremendously out. It helps us out tremendously here on the channel. So don't forget to do that for us. And as always, game it till you make it. I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.